When something happens, the only thing in your power is your attitude toward it. In the wise words of Epictetus, if someone tried to take control of your body and make you a slave, you would fight for freedom. Yet how easily you hand over your mind to anyone who insults you. When you dwell on their words and let them dominate your thoughts, you make them your master. Epictetus warned against this quiet surrender of the mind. The chains that bind most people are not forged of iron, but of opinion, memory, and fear. Freedom begins when the mind no longer answers to insult. An insult has no power without your permission. It is sound until the ego translates it into injury. The Stoic does not fight the words of others. They simply refuse to let those words enter the gates of thought. According to the ancients, the mind is a fortress. To defend it is to rule it. When you allow every passing remark to infiltrate your peace, you leave the gates unguarded, and chaos enters disguised as importance. The discipline of indifference is not coldness, it is strength. The weak spirit absorbs offense. The strong spirit absorbs insight. Every insult reveals the ego's attachment to image. When you feel wounded, ask what part of you required defense. The Stoic uses insult as mirror. If anger rises, it reveals dependence. If calm remains, mastery is confirmed. Epictetus taught that no one can harm you without your consent. They may insult, but only you can interpret insult as injury. Control of interpretation is control of emotion. The modern mind, addicted to reaction, treats offense as identity. But the Stoic knows that dignity is internal. It cannot be given or taken by words. To live this truth is to live untouchable. When you dwell on insult, you hand over command of thought. You make your peace a public property. Each replay of offense is a rent you pay to your own captor. Freedom is reclaimed by refusal. Let the comment die at the border of awareness. To dismiss is to conquer. The fortress of mind must be trained. Mental strength is not inherited, it is constructed. Each insult ignored adds another brick. Each reaction restrained tightens the gate. This is not suppression, it is architecture. The Stoic builds their peace as one builds a city, through planning, vigilance, and discipline. Most people allow strangers to rule them through opinion. They check approval before they check conscience. Epictetus warned that this is slavery of the highest order. To depend on the judgment of others is to sell your peace for applause. The Stoic reverses this trade. They act with integrity and let silence be their defense. If you wish to be free, stop replaying the past. Regret is mental slavery. It chains thought to what cannot be altered. The Stoic observes memory as record, not residence. To live in the past is to live among ghosts. The present alone can be governed. Cease being anxious about the future as well. To suffer before something happens is to double your burden. Anxiety is imagination turned against itself. The Stoic dissolves both regret and anxiety through focus. Attention belongs to now. The mind is a powerful tool, capable of creating realities from thought. It shapes perception, which in turn sculpts experience. If left ungoverned, it becomes tyrant. If disciplined, it becomes ally. To master the mind is to command reality's interpretation. The Stoic does not silence thought. They direct it. Each idea must serve clarity or be dismissed. Limit yourself to the present. Live immediately. Every second spent elsewhere is exile. The Stoic remains grounded in the only time where virtue can act, the moment before them. When the mind wanders into memory or prediction, gently pull it back. This is not denial of past or future, it is loyalty to presence. The fortress of the mind resists intrusion through awareness. Awareness is vigilance, the sentry of thought. To guard awareness is to prevent invasion by distraction, resentment, and fantasy. The Stoic strengthens awareness through stillness. Silence reveals the noise within. Once you hear the mind's turbulence, you can calm it. To be a Stoic is to stop giving attention to insult. The words of others are echoes that fade when not repeated. Responding fuels them, ignoring extinguishes them. When you stop feeding the noise, it starves. This is the strategy of composure, non-participation in chaos. Epictetus was born a slave yet lived freer than emperors. His body was bound, but his mind remained sovereign. He understood that no one can imprison a mind disciplined by reason. Chains may restrict movement, but not meaning. Freedom is not external condition, it is internal command. Your response is your realm. Between event and reaction lies a space. In that space lives your power. Impulsive reaction forfeits it. Thoughtful response strengthens it. Ask yourself before every reaction, does this serve virtue or vanity? The Stoic responds, never reacts. They act from principle, not emotion. Resilience, equanimity, and strategic action define the Stoic posture. To be resilient is to absorb without distortion. To be equanimous is to see without bias. To act strategically is to convert disturbance into discipline. These are not lofty ideals, but practical defenses against chaos. Life's insults are tests of sovereignty. Each one asks the same question. Who commands you? The one who insults you, or the one who chooses silence? Power reveals itself in restraint. The more one learns to pause, the more unshakable one becomes. Stop allowing the mind to be a slave to impulse. Marcus Aurelius warned that most live as puppets, moved by unseen strings of fear, anger, and desire. Stoic freedom is the cutting of those strings. The puppet becomes person when awareness replaces reaction. Each act of restraint is another thread severed. When insult meets awareness, it dies. When insult meets ego, it multiplies. Choose the battlefield wisely. The war is not against words, but against reaction. Master the mind, and no enemy remains. True freedom begins when you stop fighting what you cannot control. The Stoic accepts events, but governs meaning. Insults, delay, failure, praise, all lose control over you when interpreted through reason. The calm mind is not unfeeling, it is ungoverned by emotion. To practice Stoicism is to remember daily. You do not control what happens to you, but you control how you respond. This is the hinge of all power. Everything else is commentary. Every moment offers this choice, to react blindly or respond wisely. The first enslaves, the second liberates. The Stoic chooses liberty every time. For that reason, their peace is not fragile, it is earned. The discipline of Stoic living is not to flee the world, but to engage it correctly. Each insult, each challenge, each misunderstanding becomes an exercise in mastery. The mind, once tamed, transforms opposition into opportunity. Let no stranger own your thoughts. Let no insult dictate your mood. Guard the fortress, strengthen awareness, live in the present. This is the Stoic's path, simple, rigorous, invincible. Freedom of mind is the highest form of strength. The Stoics understood that no chain forged by another can match the shackles we build within ourselves. When you give another person the power to disturb you, you make them your master. Epictetus did not teach rebellion against the world. He taught liberation from its grip on perception. True mastery begins the moment you stop surrendering thought to insult. The modern person spends their life defending ego as though it were a fragile empire. Every criticism becomes invasion, every disagreement becomes threat. The Stoic sees through this illusion. They know that insult cannot touch character unless character is shallow. To be offended is to admit dependence. Freedom is not earned through defiance. It is maintained through indifference. Each reaction is a vote for who rules your mind. The more you react, the more you declare servitude. The Stoic practices a rare kind of rebellion, the refusal to be moved by provocation. They respond through choice, not through impulse. This is not emotional suppression, it is emotional command. The difference between the two is awareness. A disciplined mind treats insult as weather, unpleasant but passing. When it rains, you do not curse the sky. You adjust and move forward. The same with words and actions of others. You cannot control their clouds, but you can remain dry through reason. The Stoic does not demand silence from others. They cultivate stillness within. The habit of reaction is a kind of addiction. The ego hungers for recognition, whether through praise or conflict. It craves validation that it exists. The Stoic breaks this addiction by directing attention toward principle, not reputation. Conduct becomes their language, integrity their defense. The noise of others loses its nourishment when it no longer feeds pride. To guard the mind, one must understand its architecture. Thoughts are the gates, emotions the soldiers, reason the commander. When reason sleeps, chaos governs. The Stoic keeps reason awake through daily reflection. Morning and evening they examine the day. What disturbed me? What did I allow to enter? What did I guard successfully? Each answer reveals the strength of the fortress. Reaction often masquerades as courage. People mistake confrontation for strength. Yet the strongest act is restraint. Restraint is the invisible armor of the disciplined mind. It converts energy into precision. Every insult ignored, every impulse resisted, compounds internal power. The Stoic does not waste energy in proving superiority. They demonstrate it through silence. Epictetus endured cruelty with calm because he recognized where his authority began and ended. His master could strike his body, but not his will. This separation is the essence of Stoic freedom, the understanding that what happens outside cannot govern what happens within. When you internalize this truth, no insult can trespass on peace. When others speak ill of you, the Stoic asks one question: is it true? If yes, be grateful for correction. If no, it is noise without value. Either way, disturbance is unnecessary. The Stoic does not defend a reputation, they defend conduct. Reputation lives in rumor, conduct in reality. Reality is enough. Most suffering arises from rehearsal. We relive past offenses and predict future ones, building tension that exists only in thought. The Stoic dissolves this illusion through focus. What is happening now? The present cannot be unbearable. It is too brief. What makes life heavy is the mind's endless repetition of unchosen memories. The practice of Stoicism is the training of attention. Each moment requires discipline of thought. You do not choose the insult, but you choose the interpretation. The insult itself is neutral. The meaning is assigned by your mind. The Stoic chooses meanings that strengthen rather than weaken. They translate offense into opportunity. Freedom is measured by the distance between stimulus and response. The greater the distance, the greater the mastery. Reaction collapses that distance. Reflection expands it. The Stoic stretches the pause between what happens and what they do. In that pause, they regain dominion over themselves. When others lose control, do not join them. Their chaos does not require your contribution. The Stoic's calm is contagious because it exposes the futility of agitation. A tranquil presence unsettles the reactive more deeply than argument ever could. In silence, you teach strength. The untrained mind seeks enemies. The trained mind seeks understanding. To be insulted is to witness ignorance in motion. To respond with anger is to multiply it. The Stoic uses insult as lesson, to observe, to comprehend, and to strengthen composure. Every attack becomes material for growth. Epictetus warned that power misused is weakness disguised. Those who try to control others abandon control of themselves. The Stoic preserves energy by commanding only what is theirs: thought, intention, action. This boundary becomes sacred. Anything outside it belongs to fate, not to pride. Resentment is prolonged reaction. It is the echo of unprocessed emotion. The Stoic refuses to host it. They let offense die quickly because they value serenity more than victory. To forgive is not submission, it is economy of energy. The mind cannot create wisdom while it stores grievance. The discipline of calm begins with breath. When insult strikes, the body reacts before the mind. The Stoic pauses. Breath interrupts reflex. In that brief silence, reason reclaims authority. A single calm breath can preserve an entire day of peace. To live unbothered is not to be blind to injustice, it is to choose where to fight. The Stoic fights within, against impulse, arrogance, and fear. They do not waste battle on trivialities. Their war is for composure. Their victory is self-command. Freedom of response is the first step toward sovereignty. You cannot govern a city if you cannot govern a thought. Every uncontrolled emotion is a gate left open to invasion. Close it gently, not by force, but by understanding. Recognize the illusion of threat, and it fades. Epictetus taught that events have no moral weight until judgment assigns it. If someone insults you, the words are empty vibration. You fill them with meaning. Why fill them with poison? The Stoic fills them with observation. This person reveals their character, not mine. Insight replaces injury. The mind that no longer needs approval becomes tranquil. Silence is no longer awkward, it becomes strength. Solitude becomes comfort, not exile. The Stoic's peace is not fragile because it depends on nothing external. They walk among the loud and remain inwardly still. To be unshaken does not mean to be unaware. The Stoic feels emotion but does not live inside it. They experience anger, sadness, and joy as passing weather over a steady sea. The waves exist, but the depth remains calm. This inner stillness cannot be taught. It must be practiced daily through awareness. Insults lose meaning when you no longer build identity from opinion. The world's words become background noise. Your life becomes defined by action, not description. The Stoic does not seek to be known. They seek to be clear within themselves. The ego resists this freedom because it thrives on reaction. It feeds on attention, whether positive or negative. When you deny it reaction, it weakens. The Stoic practices this fasting of the ego. Each ignored insult is an act of starvation against pride. In its absence, humility grows. A mind disciplined by reason becomes sanctuary. Others may live in constant storms. You live under an open sky. The world's noise continues, but it passes through you like wind through a canyon, heard but powerless. Stillness does not mean absence of motion. It means motion governed by clarity. Epictetus saw the body as vessel, the mind as pilot. The vessel may be struck by waves, but the pilot decides direction. When insulted, the undisciplined mind surrenders the wheel. The Stoic holds it firm. They steer through offense with quiet precision. Modern life rewards outrage. Every reaction is currency, but outrage enriches the system that enslaves attention. The Stoic refuses to pay with peace. Their calm is rebellion. Their restraint is resistance. Control of perception leads to control of existence. You cannot choose what happens, but you can choose how it appears in consciousness. If you perceive it as training, it strengthens you. If you perceive it as persecution, it weakens you. The choice belongs to the mind alone. To be free is to stop internalizing chaos. The Stoic does not carry the noise of others into their inner world. They let it die outside the gates. Each act of dismissal reinforces boundaries. Peace grows where reaction once ruled. Epictetus reminded his students, "When someone insults you, remember they act according to their view of the world. You act according to yours. Their words reflect them, not you." This distinction is armor against emotional contagion. Freedom of mind begins with one realization: disturbance is optional. Anger, resentment, and offense are permissions granted by the self. The Stoic revokes those permissions. What remains is focus, energy, and calm, a state unbroken by noise. The more you practice calm under fire, the less fire exists. The world continues to shout, but you stop hearing invitation in its noise. You walk through the storm without absorbing its rain. The discipline of stillness becomes natural as breathing. In time, insult becomes irrelevant. The person who insulted you may forget their words, but if you remember them, you enslave yourself to memory. The Stoic refuses to carry ghosts. They travel light. No burden of past offense, no anxiety for future defense. The final lesson of Epictetus is this: the mind is its own kingdom. If ruled wisely, it knows no master. Every insult ignored, every emotion examined, every impulse restrained expands this realm. Freedom is not given, it is governed. When you learn to defend this inner kingdom, peace becomes permanent. The mind stands unshaken, clear and sovereign, untouched by the noise beyond its walls. Within every human being lies a power untouched by circumstance, a divine faculty that governs reason, perception, and will. Marcus Aurelius called this the ruling principle, the higher mind, the divine spark within. It is the part of us untouched by insult, unchanged by fortune, unbroken by loss. To live according to this principle is to live above impulse. It is to be guided by the steady flame of awareness rather than the storm of passion. Most live as puppets pulled by invisible strings: fear, suspicion, and desire. The world moves them because they have not yet discovered the stillness within that cannot be moved. The Stoic trains daily to cut these strings. Freedom begins when one stops being ruled by emotion and starts governing it. The moment you recognize that you can observe your thoughts without obeying them, you step out of slavery and into sovereignty. Marcus urged, "Understand that you have something more powerful than the passions that control the body. Within you is the capacity for reason, discipline, and virtue. These are divine qualities, the architecture of mastery. The body will tire, the senses will deceive, the crowd will shout, but the inner flame remains constant. When you act from that flame, no external force can touch you. Each morning, the Stoic begins with truth, not illusion. Today I shall meet with interference, ingratitude, insolence, disloyalty, ill will, and selfishness. It is not pessimism, it is preparation. Expectation is the source of disappointment. When you expect the world to be virtuous, you are surprised by its chaos. When you accept that ignorance produces conflict, you are immune to it. Foreseen adversity loses its sting. Mental preparation is armor. The Stoic does not wake seeking comfort, they wake seeking readiness. To anticipate resistance is to neutralize it. When insult arrives, they are already calm. When betrayal comes, they are already patient. The untrained mind collapses under surprise. The trained mind has rehearsed composure. Receive without conceit, release without struggle. This is the art of balance. Success is accepted humbly, loss is released gracefully. The Stoic holds neither with attachment. The mind that clings to victory will fear defeat. The mind that fears defeat will never be free. By releasing both, one attains serenity in all conditions. Every attachment to outcome is a chain. The Stoic breaks these chains by acting rightly and letting results unfold. Conceit is the illusion of ownership over fortune. Struggle is resistance to what must pass. Freedom lies between them, a quiet acceptance that whatever comes by nature's law. If you are distressed by anything external, Marcus wrote, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. Reality is neutral. Judgment gives it color. Pain does not originate from events. It originates from interpretation. The disciplined mind adjusts perception before emotion. By withdrawing judgment, the Stoic dissolves distress. The modern world thrives on interpretation. Every headline, every insult, every comparison is designed to provoke reaction. To live calmly today is an act of rebellion. The Stoic practices the art of revocation, the power to revoke false judgment instantly. Peace returns the moment you remember that perception is choice. The first rule is to keep an untroubled spirit. The untroubled spirit is not emotionless, it is stable. Emotion flows, but it no longer floods. The Stoic observes the rising tide of feeling, yet never identifies with it. The second rule, to look things in the face and know them for what they are, completes the armor. Clarity and calm are inseparable. To see clearly is to respond rightly. When life seems unbearable, examine what exactly is unbearable, the thing itself, or your opinion of it. When insult wounds, it is not the words, but the value you assign them. When failure burns, it is not the event, but your attachment to success. The Stoic lives by correction of perception. The outer world bends to the clarity of the inner one. To live justly and wholly, Marcus advised, is to focus on one's own conduct. How much time he gains who does not look to see what his neighbor says, or does, or thinks. Comparison is theft of peace. Every glance outward weakens self-command. The Stoic minds their own realm, the mind, the will, the act. They do not compete with shadows, they refine the self. The modern obsession with judgment is the mark of enslavement. People waste years calculating how they appear to others. The Stoic spends that time strengthening what they are. You gain time, clarity, and dignity when you stop living in mirrors and start living in truth. Marcus often reminded himself to contemplate the fates of those consumed by anger and resentment. Keep a list before your mind, he wrote, of those who burned with anger and resentment. Then ask yourself, how did that work out? Their fury dissolved into smoke and dust. The world forgot their names. Even the greatest passions fade to nothing. Why then should we surrender to them? Anger feels powerful but leaves weakness. It promises control and delivers exhaustion. The Stoic knows that every uncontrolled emotion is borrowed fire. It burns the holder first. Calm is not weakness. It is the refusal to waste energy on what does not deserve it. Resentment and vanity share the same root, dependence on others for meaning. The Stoic uproots both by detaching worth from opinion. Virtue is the only currency that never devalues. The crowd may misunderstand it, but reason recognizes its worth eternally. To be guided by the divine within is to act without needing reward. It is to choose good because it is good, not because it is seen. The external world cannot corrupt a mind anchored in principle. The Stoic stands alone, aligned with reason, indifferent to approval. The divine principle within is not mystic, it is practical. It is awareness, focus, and moral strength combined. It is the decision to remain composed when insulted, patient when delayed, kind when provoked. Each act of restraint is a declaration of mastery. When emotion surges, pause and ask, what thought produces this feeling? The Stoic separates cause from consequence. Fear follows imagination, not fact. Anger follows expectation, not necessity. Every emotion is a messenger revealing an error in judgment. Correct the thought, and the storm clears. To look things in the face means stripping away exaggeration. Problems shrink when described precisely. The undisciplined mind multiplies them with speculation. The disciplined mind isolates the truth and addresses it directly. Fear thrives on vagueness. Clarity starves it. The untroubled spirit is built through daily rehearsal. Each encounter with ignorance, each brush with rudeness, becomes training. Life supplies the gymnasium. Reason provides the exercise. The Stoic thanks difficulty. It is the weight that strengthens the mind. No insult can truly harm the wise, for they understand the offender acts from ignorance. To respond with calm is to teach without words. The Stoic silence often corrects more than argument ever could. The divine faculty within you is not fragile. It cannot be wounded by scorn or shaken by misfortune. It is the quiet core that remains when everything external collapses. To live from that center is to be indestructible. The mind that learns to receive without conceit and release without struggle becomes like water, adaptable, resilient, unstoppable. Flow replaces resistance. Each event, whether favorable or harsh, becomes another current carrying the Stoic toward wisdom. Modern life glorifies reaction. The Stoic glorifies regulation. They know that control of self is the only true freedom. Every moment of anger mastered, every temptation resisted, strengthens the divine faculty within. When fear whispers of what may come, remember Marcus's command. Remain within the present. The future is imagination. The present is real. The Stoic limits the mind to now because power lives only here. Anxiety cannot survive where focus is absolute. To align with the divine reason within is to live in harmony with nature. The universe operates by law and order, not emotion. When the mind mirrors that order, chaos loses influence. The disciplined spirit becomes a reflection of the cosmos itself, structured, purposeful, serene. Those who live by impulse become slaves to circumstance. Those who live by reason become citizens of eternity. The Stoic does not age with fear of loss. They grow in clarity. Each passing day is less noise, more understanding. Examine your thoughts. Ask daily, what now occupies my mind? If it is fear, suspicion, or desire, it is the body's domain. Bring it back under the command of reason. Let the divine faculty rule, not the puppet strings of passion. Marcus Aurelius saw through the illusions that enslave most people, the obsession with praise, the fear of insult, the hunger for recognition. He lived among emperors and slaves, and yet his true throne was within. Power governed by reason, not passion, is unassailable. Remember the end of all things. Those once famous, angry, powerful, all have turned to dust. The storms they raged against are forgotten. What remains is conduct, smoke and dust. That is what the world becomes. But virtue endures. The divine principle within you is eternal, not in time, but in quality. It is the stillness that outlasts every storm. The Stoic protects it through vigilance, cultivates it through discipline, and expresses it through justice. To live by it is to live in harmony with fate. When you stop looking outward for peace, you discover it was always inward. When you stop seeking control over others, you gain command of yourself. This is the Stoic revelation. You are not a puppet. You are the hand that moves the strings. Understand at last, there is something within you more powerful and divine than all that can disturb it. Protect it, guide it, and let it govern you. For within that still center lies the only true empire, your mind. Change is not an intruder, it is nature itself. Everything living moves through transformation. To resist it is to resist existence. Marcus Aurelius understood that fear of change is fear of life. The same law that turns seed to tree, flame to ash, and day to night also shapes the human soul. What you call loss is simply the next phase of order. What you call uncertainty is movement toward renewal. The mind fears change because it clings to form. It wants to freeze the present, to keep comfort untouched. But nothing living remains still. Stillness without movement is death. The Stoic sees this clearly. Permanence is not peace, it is stagnation. The universe evolves through transformation, and so must the mind. To live in harmony with nature is to align with change. Every process depends on it. You cannot warm yourself without burning wood. You cannot nourish yourself without transforming food. You cannot grow without shedding identity. Change is not loss. It is conversion. The Stoic learns to welcome this process as participation in the rhythm of life. Frightened of change? Marcus asks. Then frightened of yourself, for you are part of the same current that reshapes the stars. You are not separate from the universe's flow. Every alteration within you mirrors nature's own renewal. The same energy that destroys creates. The same impermanence that takes away also makes possible. The wise person ceases to fear what is natural. When fortune shifts, when people depart, when age transforms the body, the Stoic observes the pattern, not the pain. Resistance creates suffering. Acceptance converts suffering into understanding. What leaves makes room for what must arrive. Fear of change is attachment to illusion. It comes from believing that stability is safety. But life proves otherwise. Stability is impossible. The Stoic exchanges the illusion of control for the certainty of adaptability. To accept change is not weakness, it is strength under reality. Every day the body changes. The mind shifts, memories rewrite themselves, cells renew silently. The world you wake to each morning is not the same one you left the night before. Yet this is no tragedy. It is the quiet miracle of continuation. The Stoic finds peace in seeing that what changes does not die, it evolves. When people resist change, they imprison themselves in nostalgia. They cling to versions of the past that no longer fit. The Stoic looks forward, not backward. They understand that the river of time flows one way. To swim against it is exhaustion. To move with it is grace. All suffering rooted in fear of change comes from identification with what is temporary. You cannot lose what you never owned. You are a participant in nature, not its possessor. The Stoic reminds themselves, I am not losing time, I am part of time. I am not decaying, I am returning to source. When things end, they return to the order that produced them. There is no waste in nature. Death feeds life. Decay fuels renewal. The Stoic finds beauty in this symmetry. They see that impermanence is design, not flaw. The universe recycles everything, even sorrow. To be frightened of change is to misunderstand growth. The child must lose ignorance to gain wisdom. The mind must lose comfort to gain insight. What is shed is never wasted. Each transformation leaves refinement behind. The Stoic treats discomfort as signal of evolution. Clinging to what fades creates pain. The Stoic practices letting go not as loss, but as discipline. To release willingly is to move with nature's current. The weak are dragged by change. The wise walk with it. Freedom lies in voluntary alignment with inevitability. Marcus reminds us, you always own the option of having no opinion. You do not need to label every event as good or bad. Most suffering begins when judgment interferes with observation. The Stoic watches events unfold without adding story. What happens simply is. Judgment distorts it into tragedy. The mind seeks to control through opinion. It believes naming something gives mastery over it. Yet every opinion strengthens attachment. The Stoic withdraws judgment to preserve peace. To have no opinion is to allow things to pass without resistance. It is to live in harmony with what is real. Detachment does not mean indifference to life. It means seeing it clearly. When you stop demanding permanence, gratitude appears. The Stoic experiences beauty more deeply because they do not require it to last. They love the moment because they know it will pass. The power of no opinion is the power of calm. When others argue, the Stoic listens without joining. When events unfold unpredictably, they remain composed. The world asks for reaction. The Stoic declines. Silence becomes shield and clarity becomes command. Judgment enslaves, perception liberates. Every complaint begins as opinion. Every frustration begins as comparison. The Stoic erases both by seeing without commentary. To witness reality directly is to remove distortion. What remains is truth, simple and untroubled. Change tests the discipline of non-judgment. When fortune reverses, the untrained mind calls it disaster. The Stoic calls it transformation. To label something loss before its result is to speak before understanding. Time reveals the meaning of every shift. Until then, silence is wisdom. When one practices the absence of opinion, peace becomes continuous. Events no longer break it, because peace no longer depends on preference. The Stoic accepts both gain and loss as phases of the same motion. They no longer cling to either side of the wave. The world today trains the mind to form opinions instantly. Every image demands reaction. Every voice asks agreement or rejection. The Stoic withdraws from this reflex. They choose to see before deciding. This gap between observation and judgment is where freedom grows. To have no opinion is not to lack discernment. It is to delay decision until truth appears. Most people suffer because they rush to define what they do not yet understand. The Stoic waits. Patience turns confusion into clarity. The untroubled spirit that Marcus describes is not ignorance. It is mastery of perception. It knows that external events contain no inherent pain. Pain arises when desire and fear interpret them. By suspending judgment, the Stoic maintains serenity in all circumstances. Everything in nature accepts change without argument. Trees shed leaves, tides retreat, mountains erode. Only the human mind protests impermanence. To live by Stoic principle is to return to the wisdom of the natural world, silent acceptance of motion. Change is not the enemy of peace, resistance is. When you release the need to preserve the past, you make space for growth. The Stoic does not mourn what ends, they study what begins. Every ending contains instruction, every shift a new rhythm to follow. No opinion does not mean no care. It means choosing care free of attachment. The Stoic acts with integrity, but does not demand result. They serve nature's purpose, not ego's agenda. In this alignment, serenity becomes unshakable. To live without opinion is to live without disturbance. You can observe injustice and still act rightly without hatred. You can see failure and still improve without despair. Action guided by reason remains pure when emotion does not pollute it. Marcus's wisdom is both command and comfort. To change is to exist. To have no opinion is to remain free. Together, these form the essence of Stoic power. fluidity without fear, awareness without reaction. When you see yourself as part of nature's process, fear dissolves. You no longer imagine yourself as separate from the law that governs all things. You become participant, not victim. The Stoics' peace comes from understanding their role in the vast unfolding of order. Do not wish for what was. Do not dread what will be. Observe what is, and act with reason. This is the posture of wisdom. Life does not repeat, it renews. Each day is not a return, but a continuation. Change reveals your adaptability. Non-judgment reveals your clarity. The Stoic combines both to achieve mastery. They move with the rhythm of life without being carried by it. Their calm is not stillness, it is motion under control. The more you align with change, the less power it has to frighten. You see that you have never been the same person twice. Every breath reshapes you. The self you defend so fiercely is only a temporary arrangement of thought. Let it shift. It was never meant to be fixed. When the mind releases opinion and accepts change, it becomes like the universe itself, ever moving, ever balanced. The Stoic achieves tranquility not by holding still, but by flowing rightly. In the end, fear of change and attachment to opinion come from the same source, the illusion of control. The Stoic surrenders that illusion and gains reality. Life becomes a dialogue, not a demand. To flow with change and withhold judgment is to live divinely. Nature changes without anxiety. The wise mirror her calm. To fear transformation is to fear life itself. To let go of opinion is to finally see the truth of it. You are part of this eternal movement, changing, dissolving, renewing. Accept this law, and peace will follow you like a shadow that never leaves the light. When hardship strikes, the untrained mind cries out, "This is misfortune." The Stoic corrects the voice immediately. To bear this worthily is good fortune. Suffering itself is neutral. It is the bearing that gives it character. Marcus Aurelius understood that adversity is not punishment, it is practice. The way you meet pain defines whether it destroys or refines you. Every trial offers two paths, resentment or refinement. The first weakens, the second strengthens. The Stoic always chooses refinement. They see pain as an invitation to embody virtue, patience, endurance, courage. To live well is not to avoid difficulty, but to rise through it with dignity. What others call burden, the disciplined mind calls opportunity. To bear suffering worthily is not to suppress emotion, but to master it. The Stoic does not deny the weight of pain, they carry it correctly. Endurance is not numbness, it is composure under impact. Each moment of restraint builds structure within the soul, like stone laid upon stone. Through hardship, the mind becomes fortress. The art of living is not delicate. It is not a dance upon easy ground. Marcus compared it to wrestling, an art that demands readiness for sudden attack, balance in motion, and strength in the struggle. Life strikes without warning. To survive it honorably requires constant preparation. The Stoic expects the unexpected. Wrestling demands contact with opposition. So does life. The Stoic does not retreat from difficulty. They engage it with presence and discipline. Each challenge becomes an opponent that trains their technique. The aim is not to avoid falling, but to rise swiftly each time. A life well lived is one that cannot be thrown down permanently. To call endurance good fortune is to reclaim power. Bitterness surrenders control to circumstance. Strength reclaims it through response. When you meet adversity without complaint, you defeat it in spirit. Misfortune loses its dominion the moment you choose composure over despair. The mind ruled by emotion calls every obstacle unfair. The disciplined mind calls it instruction. To think like a Stoic is to reverse instinct. to see what happens as material for mastery, not grievance. There is no wasted struggle when the will transforms it into growth. Here is a rule to remember, Marcus wrote. When anything tempts you to feel bitter, not "this is misfortune," but "to bear this worthily is good fortune." This rule is both shield and sword. It protects against despair and cuts through self-pity. The Stoic does not beg the world for ease. They seek the strength to endure its reality. Every emotion that follows hardship reveals the structure of your mind. Anger, fear, resentment, these are signs of attachment to comfort. The Stoic studies them without judgment. They ask, what expectation is violated here? Which illusion am I clinging to? Through such questioning, suffering becomes education. When you refuse to call pain misfortune, you change the geometry of life. Difficulty no longer appears as wall, but as staircase. Each obstacle becomes ascent. The Stoic climbs by carrying weight correctly. Endurance without reflection is survival. Endurance with awareness is transcendence. Marcus trained himself not only to bear pain, but to understand it. Reflection transforms raw experience into wisdom. Pain endured thoughtlessly repeats itself. Pain understood elevates. Aurelius also learned to read carefully and not agree too quickly. This habit extended beyond books. It was a philosophy of perception. The undisciplined mind rushes to judgment. The disciplined mind pauses. Every opinion is a commitment of energy. The Stoic save strength by thinking precisely. The world rewards quick agreement, but truth rewards patience. To read carefully is to live carefully, to study experience before interpreting it. The Stoic listens deeply before deciding. They recognize that most error comes from haste. Calm observation is their compass. To understand rather than react is the highest form of intelligence. Reaction is instinct. Understanding is mastery. Marcus trained himself to see clearly before concluding. This is why his mind remained tranquil amid chaos. He refused to be deceived by immediacy. Superficial understanding leads to emotional volatility. When you only grasp the surface of events, you are tossed by every wave. The Stoic dives beneath appearances. They study motive, cause, and effect. They ask, what is this really? This clarity anchors them when the world shifts. Not agreeing too quickly also applies to opinion. The Stoic guards the mind as one guards a fortress. Each belief admitted must first be tested. Does it align with reason, virtue, and nature? What enters the mind shapes the soul. Rash acceptance leads to corruption. Careful discernment leads to order. Modern noise trains people to react instantly to headlines, comments, and appearances. The Stoic moves in the opposite direction. They slow thought down. They refuse to give assent to emotion's first demand. The gap between impulse and decision is where freedom exists. The art of living as wrestling reminds us that existence is not predictable. The opponent may strike suddenly. The Stoics' preparation is not rigidity, but readiness. They keep the mind flexible and the spirit alert. Life's blows do not surprise them. They were expected. Wrestling teaches balance. You must meet force with stability, aggression with composure. The Stoic applies the same rule to thought. When struck by injustice, they ground themselves in principle. When provoked, they respond from reason. Each confrontation tests control, not rage. In combat, falling is not failure. It is part of the art. The Stoic applies this to life. To fall is human. To rise with calm is divine. Every fall becomes instruction. Every recovery a demonstration of virtue. The true victory lies not in never being thrown, but in never staying down. Endurance and discernment work together. The first gives strength, The second gives direction. Without endurance, you crumble. Without discernment, you waste strength fighting illusions. The Stoic cultivates both until they act as one, clear, composed, unbreakable. Those who live reactively are always at war with circumstance. Those who live stoically are always in training for it. To them, hardship is rehearsal, not punishment. Every struggle refines the art of balance. Do not be satisfied with a rough understanding of the whole, Marcus wrote. The mind that settles for vagueness loses control to confusion. Precision of thought produces precision of action. The Stoic sharpens clarity through questioning until only truth remains. The careless mind reacts to rumor. The careful mind waits for evidence. This patience is not weakness, it is discipline. The Stoic does not rush to speak or decide. Silence is their method of strength. Life's wrestling ring offers endless opponents: misfortune, envy, insult, delay. Each attack tests a different muscle of virtue. Patience withstands time, temperance withstands pleasure, courage withstands pain. The Stoic trains them all. When you meet resistance, remember that the universe itself is resistance. Nature grows through opposition. Trees strengthen against wind. Character strengthens against hardship. Without tension, there is no development. The Stoic welcomes tension as a sign of life. Complaining about difficulty is like a wrestler complaining about contact. The Stoic expects struggle. They enter life's arena knowing that challenge is not error, it is essence. They fight not to win against life, but to move in harmony with its motion. Every time you bear pain without bitterness, you align closer to reason. Every moment you pause before agreeing too quickly, you protect clarity. Every day you prepare for life's sudden strikes, you strengthen your composure. Together, these practices form the architecture of the Stoic life. Bitterness wastes energy. Endurance creates it. Rash agreement clouds perception. Careful understanding clarifies it. Fear of struggle breeds fragility. Preparation builds strength. These truths combine into one discipline: resilient wisdom. The Stoic who endures nobly sees beyond the pain into its purpose. They no longer ask, "Why me?" but "How can this forge me?" Each challenge becomes a craftsman shaping virtue. The harder the blow, the sharper the edge. To live is to wrestle with circumstance. The Stoic enters each day ready to meet interference, insult, or delay. They measure themselves not by comfort but by control. The victory is inward. Life will strike again and again. The Stoic no longer flinches. They have learned that the art of living is not to avoid the fight, but to fight beautifully. Each motion deliberate, each fall graceful, each recovery complete. To bear difficulty with dignity is good fortune. To think clearly before agreeing is wisdom. To wrestle with life skillfully is mastery. These are not separate lessons but one: the art of living according to reason, prepared for every blow and unbroken by any. Human beings fear as if their time is short, but desire as if they will never die. Seneca saw this contradiction clearly. People tremble before death, yet waste life as if it were infinite. They panic when reminded of mortality, but live as though they were immune to its law. The Stoic studies this imbalance not to condemn it, but to correct it. To live rightly is to reverse the proportions, to act with urgency in purpose and restraint in desire. Desire without discipline breeds illusion. The more a person wants, the less they live. For wanting is a projection into a future that may never arrive. The Stoic shortens this distance by bringing attention back to the present act. What you do now is life. What you intend later is imagination. The wise exchange fantasy for focus. You act like mortals in all that you fear, and like immortals in all that you desire. Seneca's warning is simple. Fear limits us in the wrong places. We fear pain, loss, and death, events that cannot be escaped. But we do not fear idleness, waste, and vanity, choices that destroy our spirit. The Stoic learns to reverse the equation. Fear dishonor, not discomfort. Fear wasted days, not dying ones. When you understand mortality, urgency becomes serenity. You stop postponing the essential and start refining the immediate. Death ceases to be an intruder, it becomes a compass. Knowing that time is finite makes each action deliberate. Every moment misused is theft from the self. Desire extends endlessly. It always promises satisfaction just ahead, yet every fulfilled desire gives birth to another. The Stoic ends this cycle by reducing need. They ask of every pursuit, does this serve virtue or vanity? What cannot be satisfied must be mastered through withdrawal, not excess. Fear and desire share the same root, attachment to what lies outside control. Fear loses power when you accept what you cannot avoid. Desire loses grip when you stop chasing what you cannot keep. Together, they form the boundary of wisdom, what to hold, what to release. Plato wrote that opinion is the medium between knowledge and ignorance. The world lives in this middle ground. People trade opinions as though they were truth. Yet opinion, by nature, is unstable, half seen, half believed. The Stoic escapes this fog by demanding clarity. They do not ask, what do others think, but what is real. Opinion is comfort for the uncertain. It feels like knowledge without requiring discipline, but to live by opinion is to build a house on mist. The Stoic sharpens thought until only evidence remains. Knowledge requires patience, ignorance requires noise. The wise choose silence until understanding forms. To live surrounded by opinions and remain undisturbed is the modern trial. The Stoic practices discernment not through argument but through distance. They observe how swiftly the crowd declares certainty. They refuse to join it. Truth does not shout, it endures. Opinion is the medium, but most mistake it for the destination. The Stoic uses it as a bridge, acknowledging uncertainty, then crossing toward clarity. Every belief must pass through reason's filter. If it collapses under scrutiny, it was never truth. If it stands, it becomes knowledge. Diogenes embodied a different kind of detachment. I don't care whether I'm talked about badly or well. I don't want to be talked about at all. His words reveal the depth of independence achieved when ego dies. Praise and blame are chains of equal weight. Freedom begins when both lose meaning. The need to be spoken of is the need to exist through others' eyes. It is the quietest form of slavery. The Stoic understands that reputation is borrowed property. It belongs to the observer. The self must live by internal measure, not external echo. To want no mention is to seek peace unpolluted by vanity. To be unseen and content, that is mastery. When no praise seduces and no insult wounds, you have stepped beyond dependence. The Stoic's worth does not rise with applause nor fall with neglect. It remains steady, governed by principle, not perception. Detachment from opinion does not make one aloof, it makes one free. The wise do not isolate from others, they simply cease performing for them. Silence becomes dignity. Action becomes communication. Life itself becomes statement enough. To live without craving recognition is to return energy to creation. Time once wasted on image becomes available for virtue. The Stoic uses it to refine conduct, study truth, and align with nature. What is unseen remains pure. Detach from the outcome, master the process. This final truth completes the Stoic triad of freedom. Desire for results is another form of fear, the fear of failure. The Stoic replaces outcome dependence with process discipline. Action becomes its own reward. Excellence is measured by effort, not applause. Mastering the process means finding meaning in repetition. Each day offers the same choices: act well or poorly, think clearly or react emotionally. Progress is quiet, invisible and slow. The impatient abandon it. The wise persist. Detachment allows persistence because it removes anxiety about success. The modern person measures worth by result. The Stoic measures it by direction. A day of disciplined effort outweighs a lifetime of chaotic achievement. What matters is not how far you reach, but how rightly you move. To detach from outcome is to reclaim peace. You no longer fear failure because you no longer worship success. Both become external events. The only true victory is mastery of self. When your satisfaction depends solely on integrity, fortune cannot touch you. Fear acts like mortality, desire like immortality, and opinion like confusion between the two. Detachment unifies them into understanding. The Stoic knows they are mortal in body, but timeless in conduct. Virtue survives circumstance. Clarity outlives noise. Fear teaches urgency. Desire teaches restraint. Opinion teaches humility. Detachment teaches control. Together they sculpt wisdom. The person who integrates all four lives with stillness and strength. Most chase immortality through recognition. The Stoic finds it in repetition, doing what is right again and again, without audience, without fatigue. Immortality of conduct, not of name. To die unknown but virtuous is better than to live famous but hollow. The mind that no longer fears death or craves applause becomes a vessel of precision. Each thought is measured, each act intentional. There is no rush, no performance, only alignment. Such a person cannot be enslaved because they no longer depend. Fear of mortality fades when you live rightly. Every day completed in accordance with reason is a full life. No tomorrow is required. The Stoic greets each dusk as closure, each dawn as renewal. Desire for immortality fades when peace is found in sufficiency. Opinion loses power when you experience reality directly. Knowledge comes not from collecting words, but from observing life without distortion. Ignorance hides behind certainty. Wisdom lives comfortably with doubt. The Stoic holds opinion lightly until reason confirms it. The strength of Diogenes lay not in cynicism, but in self-possession. He stripped life of pretense until truth remained bare. His indifference to attention was not rebellion, but clarity. He saw that to be spoken of, good or bad, is to surrender autonomy. To master the process is to train the soul in craftsmanship. Each act becomes an expression of principle. The craftsman does not rush the work, they respect the form. The Stoic approaches life the same way, with care, patience, and precision. The work is never fame, it is virtue. Seneca's observation, Plato's distinction, Diogenes' detachment, and the anonymous call to mastery all point to one truth. Peace arises when the mind governs itself. Fear, desire, opinion, and outcome are illusions of dependence. Freedom begins where they end. To live as a Stoic is to fear less, want less, speak less, and do more. It is to treat every day as a complete life. When you master the process and release the outcome, you become untouchable. The noise of the world passes through you like wind through an open field. So act with mortal urgency, think with immortal calm, and detach from the verdict of others. Truth needs no audience, and virtue needs no witness. The process itself is the proof. Seneca taught that the greatest paradox of human life is how one trembles before misfortune, yet stretches endlessly toward desire. The more we reach, the more fragile we become, because each desire extends the territory of potential loss. Every attachment expands the domain of fear. To live freely, the Stoic reverses this expansion, shrinking the territory of need until peace fits within it. Fear and desire are mirrors of the same distortion. They both reveal a mind too focused on the external. What you fear to lose and what you crave to gain both lie beyond your command. The Stoic withdraws their emotional investment from this unstable field and relocates it inward. In doing so, they exchange dependence for autonomy. Seneca's insight that people act mortal in fear but immortal in desire captures the essential confusion of modern life. We panic about what may hurt us, but ignore what quietly corrupts us. We acknowledge that life is short, yet fill it with trivial pursuits. The Stoic treats this contradiction as a disease of perception. The cure is awareness. Awareness reveals proportion. When you truly remember mortality, urgency rearranges your priorities. The small annoyances lose meaning. The great goals simplify. You stop performing for the future and begin living for the moment that actually exists. This is not indulgence, it is alignment with reality. Desire is not evil, but unexamined desire enslaves. The Stoic trains desire to serve virtue, not vanity. To wish for mastery, for wisdom, for calm, that is worthy desire. But to wish for what others possess, or for outcomes you cannot secure, is blindness disguised as ambition. Every undisciplined desire is an invitation to sorrow. The wise do not extinguish desire, they clarify it. They understand that the aim of life is not to want nothing, but to want rightly. When desire serves virtue, it becomes discipline. When it serves ego, it becomes addiction. The Stoic directs passion inward, transforming it into fuel for principle. Fear dissolves in the same way. The mind cannot fear what it fully understands. Most fear is exaggeration, a failure of perspective. When you analyze what you dread, its power shrinks. Death becomes event, not catastrophe. Loss becomes passage, not punishment. Knowledge returns scale to emotion. Plato's observation that opinion lies between knowledge and ignorance explains why most minds remain restless. Opinion feels like understanding, yet contains no certainty. It is the half-light of thought, enough to navigate, not enough to see. The Stoic recognizes this and avoids being ruled by it. They treat opinion as a provisional map, not a final truth. The modern world thrives on opinion. It rewards reaction over reflection, noise over nuance. The Stoic resists this temptation. They prefer clarity earned through silence to confidence born of haste. Every strong mind must stand alone at times, refusing to echo until understanding is complete. Opinion enslaves when it becomes identity. People build themselves upon what they believe instead of what they know. The Stoic builds upon principle, which does not depend on popularity. In a world drowning in speculation, certainty through self-examination becomes revolutionary. To live in the middle ground between ignorance and wisdom is unavoidable. To mistake that ground for truth is fatal. The Stoic walks through it carefully, testing each thought for coherence and consequence. They do not cling to belief. They test it, refine it, and discard it when it fails reason's flame. Diogenes' declaration, "I don't care whether I'm talked about badly or well, I don't want to be talked about at all," is not arrogance, but liberation. He understood that to be spoken of is to be owned in the minds of others. The Stoic seeks ownership of the self alone. Reputation is theatre. Virtue is the rehearsal that never ends. The desire to be seen corrodes authenticity. Once your worth depends on visibility, you perform instead of live. Diogenes refused performance entirely. His indifference to fame or shame exposed the vanity of both. The Stoic carries this forward. What matters is conduct, not commentary. Freedom from the gaze of others is one of the highest forms of wealth. Most trade their peace for recognition. They chase approval as if it were substance. But applause cannot feed the soul. It only amplifies dependence. The Stoic prefers the quiet satisfaction of alignment with principle. To be forgotten by others but remembered by your conscience is the proper measure of success. Virtue leaves no need for witnesses. When you act rightly, the universe is audience enough. Detachment from outcome extends this freedom into action. To live for result is to hand your peace to fortune. Every disappointment becomes injury. Every success becomes addiction. The Stoic acts with precision, then releases the result. This separation between effort and expectation is the foundation of tranquility. Detach from the outcome, master the process. These words are not resignation, they are power. To master the process is to live as cause, not as effect. You cannot command what happens, but you can command what you do. Excellence without attachment is the Stoic's ideal state. The process is always within reach. The outcome never is. Those who chase the latter exhaust themselves. Those who refine the former conserve energy. Peace arises when the circle of control is respected completely. Detachment refines intention. When you no longer act for reward, you act for truth. Every deed becomes pure because it is free from transaction. The Stoic contributes to the world without bargaining with it. Modern ambition teaches obsession with results. Stoic discipline teaches devotion to rhythm. Progress becomes ritual, not race. In the repetition of good work lies quiet immortality. The process itself becomes sacred. Outcome anxiety is born from illusion, the belief that control extends further than it does. The Stoic sees the boundary clearly. They plant the seed, tend it with diligence, and leave the harvest to nature. Expectation is replaced with trust in order. Trust in order is not passivity, it is participation. The Stoic collaborates with nature instead of contesting it. They know that chaos is only pattern beyond comprehension. To move with it rather than against it is wisdom in motion. To detach from results is to detach from pride and despair alike. Success cannot inflate, failure cannot deflate. Both lose power when the self is rooted in conduct. This equanimity is the highest victory, constant composure regardless of circumstance. The craftsman's virtue lies in process. They shape each stroke of the tool as if it were the last. The Stoic crafts the self in the same way, by constant deliberate refinement. Each day becomes an act of workmanship upon the soul. Diogenes lived his philosophy openly, defying both praise and insult. His simplicity was not poverty, but purity. He stripped away dependence until he stood free before the world, unclaimed by wealth, status, or approval. His indifference to reputation is a mirror for those enslaved by image. Plato sought order in reason, Seneca in discipline, Diogenes in detachment. All three pointed toward the same summit, mastery of the self through clarity and control. Their differences were methods, not destinations. Seneca's awareness of mortality, Plato's caution against opinion, and Diogenes' disregard for fame all converge into one Stoic axiom. What is external is neutral. What is internal is destiny. The outer world provokes. The inner world decides. To live with this understanding is to become untouchable. Praise, blame, success, failure. None can corrupt a soul that governs its own evaluation. Freedom then is not isolation, but independence of judgment. The wise person no longer asks how they appear to others, but how they appear to their reason. Virtue becomes mirror enough. This inward gaze ends vanity and begins mastery. When desire weakens and fear quiets, the mind becomes still enough for truth. That stillness is not emptiness, it is capacity. In it, reason can build unshaken structure. The Stoic's calm is not withdrawal from life, it is perfect engagement without disturbance. The greatest strength lies in restraint. Every impulse resisted adds to inner power. Every desire examined adds to clarity. Every opinion tested adds to precision. In this slow accumulation, the Stoic forges sovereignty. Seneca urged urgency in purpose. Plato urged patience in thought. Diogenes urged detachment from vanity. Combined, they reveal the architecture of composure. To live by it is to live with elegance under pressure. Detach from the noise. Master your rhythm. Study your thoughts until only truth remains. Fear less, want less, speak little, act well. In this reduction lies abundance. The world will always pull you outward. The Stoic moves inward, not to escape, but to command. The further the crowd drifts into confusion, the greater the responsibility of clarity. Each person who masters themselves strengthens civilization itself. Detachment is not separation from life, it is union with its reality. You no longer demand, you participate. You no longer grasp, you create. You no longer beg to be remembered, you simply are. And that is enough. To live this way is to embody serenity without softness, power without arrogance, motion without noise. The Stoic who walks this path leaves no echo behind, only presence. This is the highest mastery, to live quietly, deeply, and completely free. Most people spend their lives trapped inside invisible chains. They are ruled by opinions, enslaved by expectation, and exhausted by the endless urge to control what cannot be controlled. The mind becomes a prisoner of perception. A single word of praise lifts it, a single criticism destroys it. What the Stoics understood, what most never learn, is that freedom begins not with power, but with detachment from illusion. The illusion that the world owes obedience to our will. The illusion that people should understand us. The illusion that outcomes must match desire. This is where all suffering begins, when expectation collides with reality. The illusion of control is the root of anxiety. The modern mind lives under constant pressure to manage everything: how we are seen, how events unfold, how others behave. This obsession drains energy and erodes composure. Epictetus taught that only a few things are within our control: our judgments, our choices, and our actions. Everything else belongs to the external realm. When we confuse the two, we build a life of frustration. The Stoic separates them cleanly. The undisciplined mind merges them and calls it stress. Every day, we are flooded with the expectations of others. Friends, family, employers, and the crowd online, all broadcasting what they think life should look like. Most people internalize these voices until they no longer recognize their own. They seek approval because approval feels like proof of worth. Yet this hunger has no end. The moment it is fed, it grows again. The Stoic solution is not rebellion, but refinement. To master the art of not giving attention to what does not deserve it. To stop caring in the Stoic sense is not apathy, it is clarity. It is the discipline of protecting attention. Every moment spent reacting to opinions is a moment stolen from conduct. Marcus Aurelius wrote that a person becomes invincible when they care only for what depends on them. This principle cuts through every distraction. It does not reject the world, it orders it. It places every external event in its proper domain, beyond control, therefore beyond disturbance. The illusion of control disguises itself as responsibility. Many believe they must intervene in every conflict, correct every misconception, and prove their worth through constant involvement. Yet the more they chase order, the more chaos they generate. The Stoic learns the difference between responsibility and interference. To control oneself fully is to let the world unfold freely. Opinion is the most subtle form of enslavement. A single comment can ruin a day because the mind believes it must respond. We have trained ourselves to mirror the emotions of others. If they praise, we rise. If they blame, we fall. This is not freedom, it is dependence. The Stoic does not seek to be unmoved like stone, but steady like an anchored ship, able to feel the waves without being carried away. The modern world amplifies every voice. Social media has turned judgment into a constant echo. To exist in public is to be measured, yet this measurement has no standard, no justice, no end. The person who seeks peace through universal approval is doomed to exhaustion. The Stoic posture is the opposite, to act with integrity and let noise pass through. The mind must become a fortress, strong, silent, indifferent. Control is not achieved by force, it is preserved by focus. The more one tries to control others, the weaker one becomes. The more one refines personal conduct, the stronger one becomes. Every effort to dominate what lies outside erodes the command of what lies within. The Stoic reverses this equation: total sovereignty inward, total acceptance outward. Opinions are like wind. To react to every gust is to lose direction. The disciplined mind adjusts its sail only when reason commands it. Emotional maturity is measured by indifference to fluctuation. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily that people act according to their nature, not ours. Expecting anything else is madness. When you accept this, disappointment dissolves. Anger, resentment, and frustration lose their hold because they cannot feed on false expectation. To master indifference is to master peace. The noise of the world continues, but it no longer enters. One hears the same words, feels the same weather, but interprets none of it as threat. Detachment is not withdrawal, it is presence without dependence. The Stoic stands among chaos and remains still, not because the world has changed, but because perception has been disciplined. Expectations corrupt gratitude. They turn the present into a negotiation with the future. The moment something good happens, the mind demands more. This is why satisfaction disappears so quickly. The Stoic eliminates this pattern by treating every outcome as neutral until judgment gives it color. Control begins here, with the refusal to interpret before understanding. The person who must always be understood will never be free. The world does not exist to validate emotion. The Stoic accepts misinterpretation as part of existence. To be misjudged is not injury, it is proof of independence. When one stops defending the self, one gains strength. Defense drains energy. Indifference preserves it. The illusion of control often masquerades as care. People believe that worrying about everything means they are responsible, but worry is wasted motion. It changes nothing external and weakens everything internal. The Stoic replaces worry with discipline. Prepare, act, release. Nothing beyond that is required. Serenity grows in the space where obsession used to live. When you stop trying to control others, you begin to command yourself. The modern world rewards reaction. Every headline, every notification, every opinion seeks to pull the mind outward. The person who reacts to all of it has no center. The Stoic restores it by refusing to chase every disturbance. Stillness is not inaction. It is power without noise. Human beings often suffer because they demand consistency from the inconsistent. They expect fairness from the unjust, honesty from the deceptive, stability from the volatile. This expectation builds resentment. The Stoic abandons these demands and acts according to reason, not reciprocity. Virtue is not a response, it is a standard. When behavior is guided by standard rather than circumstance, peace becomes constant. Control begins with distinction. What belongs to you must be governed. What belongs to fate must be released. The weak mind reverses this law. It tries to govern everything external and ignores the inner state. The Stoic mind holds the line: govern your conduct, release all else. This single separation rebuilds life from chaos to order. Opinions are projections of desire. People want the world to confirm their beliefs, and when it does not, they call it injustice. The Stoic expects nothing. Expectation is a contract written with the unreal. When the mind no longer bargains with reality, it cannot be deceived. This is the essence of freedom. The discipline of detachment must be trained daily. It is not a single act of defiance, but a continuous refinement of perception. Each morning, Marcus Aurelius prepared his mind by reminding himself that he would meet the ungrateful, the arrogant, the deceitful, and the selfish. He trained for impact before contact. Preparation neutralizes surprise. A calm mind is not surprised by difficulty, it is expecting it. To stop caring about opinions does not mean contempt, it means neutrality. Contempt is another chain. It means the mind still values approval enough to hate its absence. True indifference holds no emotional investment in either praise or insult. The opinion of others becomes like weather, noticed but irrelevant to conduct. People waste decades chasing explanations from those who will never understand them. They try to rewrite the perception of others as if reputation were part of their control. But image is always borrowed. It belongs to the observer, not the observed. The Stoic does not chase image, they live in alignment. Integrity is silent proof. No argument can destroy it. To master indifference, one must study attachment. Ask, what am I attached to that can be taken away? If the list is long, peace will be short. Every attachment that depends on external approval, recognition, or circumstance carries potential for suffering. The Stoic shortens the list until it includes only what cannot be taken: character, judgment, principle. The illusion of control grows through language. People say, my time, my job, my success. Yet none of these belong to them beyond the present moment. The Stoic rewires ownership. You own your conduct, your decisions, your reactions. Everything else is temporary possession. This mindset erases entitlement and amplifies peace. The art of not caring is the art of perspective. Life loses its sharpness when seen through the correct scale. Opinions shrink. Failure becomes lesson. Praise becomes noise. Events become neutral data. The Stoic measures nothing through emotion, only through alignment with reason. When reason governs interpretation, emotion obeys it. People seek validation to confirm existence, but existence is self-evident. The need for confirmation is an illusion of insecurity. The Stoic builds identity through internal metrics. Each day becomes a simple question: did I act according to principle? If the answer is yes, nothing else matters. External approval becomes background static. Indifference is often misunderstood as coldness. In truth, it is strength. The person who remains calm under insult has mastered ego. The person who remains kind without need for recognition has mastered pride. The person who remains steady in uncertainty has mastered fear. Indifference is not absence. It is dominance over reaction. Expectations create emotional debt. The more one expects, the more one is owed. The Stoic owes nothing and demands nothing. Gratitude replaces expectation. When gratitude becomes the foundation, the mind stops calculating fairness and starts observing reality. Life becomes less about control and more about coherence. Control in Stoicism is not passive acceptance, it is precise engagement. It means giving attention only where it has impact. Everything else is noise. The modern person wastes their attention in defense of ego. Every opinion becomes a battlefield. The Stoic declines these wars. To decline battle is not weakness, it is mastery of aim. The illusion of control feeds comparison. People compare progress, possessions, and recognition as if life were a race. Yet every comparison is built on an assumption that others share your values. They do not. To live by another's measure is to live in chains. The Stoic defines value internally and walks alone. Solitude is the arena of freedom. To master indifference, practice silence. Most emotional reactions are verbal. The more one explains, the more one justifies. The more one justifies, the more one exposes dependence. The Stoic speaks only when words add precision. Silence is a signal of control. It denies entry to the chaos of noise. Discipline of perception begins with rehearsal. Imagine losing what you cherish and still remaining calm. Imagine being misunderstood and remaining at peace. This is not pessimism, it is strength training for the mind. When the imagined loss arrives, composure remains. The Stoic does not seek comfort through denial, but resilience through rehearsal. Every expectation that is broken is a lesson in detachment. Every insult received is a lesson in endurance. Every outcome resisted is a reminder of boundaries. To a disciplined mind, every disturbance becomes training. The world becomes a gym for self-command. Nothing external can defeat a mind that uses everything as practice. Opinions are borrowed identities. People echo what gains acceptance. They mistake conformity for connection. But truth requires solitude. The Stoic stands apart not out of arrogance, but necessity. To think clearly, one must be alone with their mind, stripped of noise. Only in silence does truth become audible. The need for constant understanding is a trap. The Stoic seeks to understand, not to be understood. This inversion protects energy. When others misunderstand, it changes nothing. Conduct remains aligned. Integrity needs no witness. Detachment from expectation frees time. Every complaint, every argument, every mental rehearsal of what could have been is time stolen from creation. The Stoic does not mourn imagined futures. They invest energy into what can be shaped now. Time is the only currency of control. The illusion of control collapses under awareness. When you see how little depends on will, you stop wasting emotion on resistance. Acceptance is not defeat, it is strategic clarity. The Stoic does not submit. They align. Alignment is power directed through understanding. When the mind releases illusion, peace is automatic. You stop reacting, start observing. You stop wishing, start acting. You stop chasing, start being. Control is no longer an effort, it is a state. The art of not caring becomes the science of living. Every human being will confront moments of loss, rejection, misunderstanding, and chaos. The difference between suffering and serenity lies in interpretation. The Stoic sees every moment as neutral material, shaped by choice. The world does not disturb, it reveals. Each event is feedback for mastery. To live without the illusion of control is to live without fear. When you expect nothing, you are prepared for everything. When you depend on nothing external, you are free in every condition. The world remains the same, but you are no longer ruled by it. The Stoic walks through storms with dry eyes and calm breath. The noise continues, but the mind remains silent. Freedom begins where expectation ends. The art of not caring is not withdrawal, it is self-command. It is the quiet realization that life will unfold as it must, and your task is only to act with reason, discipline, and integrity. Everything else is the wind. The illusion of control survives in subtle forms. Even after one learns the principles of Stoicism, the old reflexes return. The impulse to shape outcomes, to correct others, to demand fairness from the unjust. These impulses are remnants of ego, disguised as virtue. The disciplined mind must recognize them, not to condemn itself, but to refine its awareness. Control is not eradicated by knowledge alone. It dissolves through continuous practice of detachment. Every expectation carries hidden anxiety. When you expect something to happen, you make peace conditional on fulfillment. The Stoic builds peace on stability within, not compliance without. To live free of expectation is to experience events as they come, without the burden of narrative. Each occurrence simply arrives, is judged rationally, and then released. In this way, composure is never borrowed, it is self-generated. Modern culture glorifies control. The world teaches that success depends on domination, on bending reality to will. Yet the Stoic sees the opposite. Power comes from obedience to reason, not conquest of circumstance. To align with nature is not to surrender, it is to move with the current of truth. The universe is governed by cause and consequence. To resist it is to exhaust oneself against the inevitable. Detachment sharpens perception. When the mind is no longer invested in outcomes, it sees them clearly. Emotion distorts. Desire fogs judgment. Fear narrows vision. The Stoic clears this mist by anchoring attention in conduct. What is within one's control becomes the field of mastery. Everything else becomes observation. This separation restores simplicity to existence. The person ruled by illusion reacts to every fluctuation. They interpret every delay as failure, every obstacle as injustice. Their emotional landscape mirrors the world's volatility. The Stoic stabilizes it. Stillness is cultivated by training the mind to remain unchanged by what changes. When you can watch events unfold without attachment, you gain more control than those who attempt to steer every wave. The discipline of indifference refines energy. Emotion is expensive. Every burst of anger, envy, or insecurity consumes power that could build resilience. The Stoic conserves this power by replacing reaction with observation. When insult arrives, they analyze it like data. When failure strikes, they study it like evidence. This is not suppression, it is redirection. The mind becomes an instrument of clarity. Freedom from opinion does not make one careless, it makes one precise. When your conduct no longer bends to social pressure, it aligns with truth. Many mistake indifference for rebellion, yet the Stoic does not act against society, they act above it. Their peace is immune to persuasion because it is built on principle. The approval of others becomes unnecessary when one's conscience is governed by reason. Every interaction is a test of control. A harsh word, a delayed result, an unfair judgment, all reveal whether your peace depends on external order. If you are shaken, it means your foundation rests outside yourself. The Stoic uses these moments as diagnostics. Each disturbance exposes an attachment. To identify it is progress. To remove it is mastery. The illusion of control is rooted in attachment to outcomes. People define success by results they cannot guarantee. They measure virtue by the reactions of others. They build identity on the fragile opinions of strangers. Stoicism dismantles this architecture. It replaces external validation with internal verification. Did I act with reason? Did I uphold principle? If yes, then peace remains untouched. To live without illusion, one must also confront uncertainty. The future cannot be commanded. Fortune is indifferent to desire. The Stoic accepts this as natural law. Instead of resisting it, they prepare the mind to meet whatever arrives. When the future becomes unpredictable, they do not panic, they adapt. Flexibility is the highest form of strength because it requires no certainty to operate. The practice of detachment does not mean withdrawal from effort. The Stoic still works, creates, and leads, but they act without ownership of outcome. They plant the seed, tend the soil, and release the harvest. This posture transforms fatigue into endurance. When action is driven by principle rather than expectation, motivation becomes self-renewing. The illusion of control manifests through fear. Fear is the belief that events must unfold a certain way for peace to continue. The Stoic erases this condition. Peace becomes unconditional. To lose wealth, to be criticized, to face delay, none of these alter the core of the disciplined person. They remain stable because their worth is not anchored in circumstance. Every emotional chain begins with assumption. The mind assumes it knows how the world should behave. When reality disagrees, conflict is born. The Stoic dismantles assumption by observing patterns without ownership. They do not say, "This must happen," but ask, "What does this reveal?" Inquiry replaces demand. The result is mental clarity and reduced suffering. Modern life promotes hyper-reactivity. Attention is captured, fragmented, monetized. The Stoic resists this by reclaiming focus. Focus is the new asceticism. It means withdrawing from unnecessary stimulation and directing thought only toward what can be shaped. This discipline reconstructs the mind into an environment of silence within noise. To master indifference, one must study the ego's disguises. Ego demands recognition, control, and superiority. It hides under virtue and justification. The Stoic dismantles it through humility. True strength requires no witness. True mastery needs no acknowledgement. The ego fears invisibility. The disciplined mind seeks it. Quiet integrity is the mark of inner order. Detachment does not eliminate emotion, it governs it. The Stoic still feels joy, sadness, love, and disappointment. But emotion no longer dictates action. It becomes information, not command. This internal hierarchy allows the mind to act according to reason, even when feeling deeply. Emotional control is not suppression, it is orchestration. The illusion of control creates chronic tension. The body mirrors the mind's struggle to hold the unholdable. Shoulders tighten, sleep fades, thought loops endlessly. The Stoic releases this by focusing on deliberate conduct and breath. Each controlled act signals to the body that chaos is external, not internal. Calm behavior produces calm physiology. Many confuse indifference with detachment from purpose. Yet the Stoic is deeply purposeful. Purpose gives direction to indifference. It ensures that neutrality does not drift into apathy. One does not care for noise, but one deeply cares for virtue. Indifference protects purpose from corrosion. It keeps the flame pure while the world burns around it. To practice Stoic detachment, observe your daily language. Notice how often you say, "I need" or "I deserve." Each phrase reveals dependency. Replace them with "I will act" and "I will accept." These linguistic shifts retrain perception. Words shape cognition, and cognition shapes emotion. Mastery begins with vocabulary. The illusion of control collapses when one studies cause and effect without emotional coloring. Events unfold according to chains of influence too vast to comprehend. The Stoic accepts this cosmic scale with serenity. Life's unpredictability ceases to be threat. it becomes context. Within that context, disciplined action becomes sacred. Each disappointment is an invitation to strengthen detachment. When a plan fails, the undisciplined mind resists and repeats regret. The Stoic reviews, learns, and releases. Regret is a form of control disguised as reflection. It attempts to rewrite the past. Acceptance of what has occurred restores motion to the present. Indifference to outcome does not reduce excellence, it enhances it. When the mind is free from anxiety, it performs with precision. Fear of failure tightens action, peace sharpens it. The Stoic works not to win, but to express virtue. The result becomes secondary. This shift from performance to expression creates sustained momentum. The illusion of control also governs relationships. Many believe love must be reciprocated, respect must be returned, kindness must be noticed. These conditions make connection transactional. The Stoic offers virtue without demand. They give without expectation because giving itself is alignment with nature. Freedom in relationship begins when reciprocity is optional, not required. To live by Stoic detachment is to develop an unbreakable rhythm. External chaos no longer disrupts internal tempo. The mind operates like a steady drumbeat while the world thrashes around it. This rhythm becomes identity, a cadence of calm in motion. From this steadiness emerges authority, for nothing commands attention like composure. The illusion of control thrives on ignorance of limits. The Stoic studies limits until they become allies. Knowing what cannot be controlled is not defeat, it is clarity. When effort stops leaking into futility, strength concentrates. The disciplined person becomes powerful precisely because they waste nothing. In detachment, humility deepens. You begin to see that the universe owes no explanation. Events occur with or without preference. The mind stops demanding meaning and starts generating it. The Stoic creates purpose within circumstance, not from it. This internal authorship transforms powerlessness into authorship. Detachment requires patience. The mind conditioned by stimulation demands immediate reward. Stoic composure grows slowly through repetition. Each moment of restraint is a brick in the architecture of inner order. To remain calm once is chance. To remain calm repeatedly is mastery. The illusion of control weakens as one studies impermanence. Everything external shifts: health, fortune, affection, reputation. The Stoic observes this flux and adapts. By aligning with change rather than resisting it, they gain stability. Stability in motion is the paradox of mastery. To refine detachment, embrace voluntary discomfort. Choose minor hardships to train acceptance: cold showers, fasting, solitude. These acts are symbolic reminders that peace does not depend on comfort. The body learns endurance, the mind learns command. When real adversity comes, it finds you prepared. The Stoic does not hide from life's noise, they transform relationship to it. The market, the crowd, the workplace, all become fields for practice. Every irritation becomes an exercise in patience, every injustice an opportunity for justice within oneself. Life becomes training ground, not obstacle course. Control of perception is the gateway to freedom. Perception filtered through desire breeds suffering. Perception filtered through discipline breeds peace. To train perception, pause before interpretation. Ask, what is this event demanding of me? The answer is always virtue, courage, patience, restraint, or clarity. The illusion of control ends when one no longer resists reality. Acceptance does not mean approval, it means clear vision. Once illusion dissolves, the mind perceives truth directly. The world's unpredictability no longer threatens identity because identity no longer clings to permanence. When you accept reality as a neutral stage for conduct, you step beyond emotion into mastery. Life stops being battle and becomes practice. You stop measuring existence through loss or gain. The Stoic does not win or lose. They act, learn, and continue. That is their immortality. Every generation must relearn this lesson. The tools change, the distractions multiply, but the human mind remains the same. Control still seduces, opinions still enslave, expectation still wounds. Yet the path out remains unchanged. Discipline of mind, detachment from illusion, focus on conduct. The formula is timeless because truth does not evolve. It is rediscovered. When you no longer need the world to behave, you become untouchable. The Stoics' peace is not built on isolation, but on inner governance. They live among chaos and remain serene. Their strength is quiet, invisible, absolute. To master indifference is to master life. The world continues in motion, but the mind stands unmoved, alert, alive, and free. Illusion does not vanish by rejection, it dissolves by precision. The more clearly one sees what is and what is not within reach, the quieter the mind becomes. The Stoic does not waste thought on what cannot be altered. They study the limit of their control with scientific calm, as a builder studies the strength of stone. The foundation of composure is built on understanding boundaries. Without this awareness, every effort becomes friction against fate. Control is not a tool of dominance. It is an instrument of refinement. To master it is to sculpt the self, not the world. The undisciplined mind attempts to command the uncontrollable while neglecting its own disorder. The disciplined mind reverses this pattern. It orders the internal state until it becomes immune to the external. This reversal of effort is the essence of Stoic freedom. When illusion governs thought, peace depends on coincidence. One good day lifts, one setback destroys. The Stoic eliminates this instability by anchoring peace in conduct. A single rule remains: act rightly, let results unfold. This removes both pride and despair, for both arise from ownership of outcome. Humility and endurance become two sides of the same composure. Every illusion of control begins as an assumption about time. The mind believes it can dictate the pace of life, forcing its rhythm upon what cannot be hurried. Impatience is the symptom of false control. The Stoic adjusts to the tempo of nature. They understand that nothing real is rushed. Growth, mastery, peace, each unfolds through consistent conduct, not through demand. The world conditions people to chase validation, mistaking recognition for control. Every approval received feels like confirmation of worth, but this dependence enslaves attention. The Stoic detaches from applause as firmly as from insult. To be indifferent to both is to own one's direction. Praise and blame become echoes. Conduct remains the voice. Control rooted in ego is brittle. It shatters under resistance. Control rooted in discipline bends without breaking. This resilience is what Seneca described as the strength of a mind tempered by adversity. When faced with events beyond command, the Stoic adapts through reason, not emotion. Adaptation replaces domination as the highest form of strength. Each disturbance exposes an unseen attachment. The more something can disturb you, the more it owns you. The Stoic uses this awareness as compass. Disturbance points to dependency. By tracing agitation to its source, illusion is identified and dissolved. In this process, discomfort becomes teacher, not enemy. Silence is the ally of control. The undisciplined mind seeks expression for every emotion, scattering energy into words. The Stoic holds silence as a weapon and a shield. Speech becomes deliberate, an act of governance rather than reaction. Through silence, thought gains density. Power condenses where noise is absent. The illusion of control extends into morality. People seek to control how others should act, as though virtue were contagious through command. The Stoic withdraws from moral policing. They live example, not enforcement. Virtue radiates through behavior, not imposition. To live justly is to influence silently. Mastery of control begins in morning reflection. Each day presents a choice, to be ruled by impulse or to rule impulse by reason. The Stoic prepares before engagement. They foresee obstacles and rehearse composure. A mind that anticipates turbulence does not drown in it. Each day becomes a controlled experiment in endurance. Control without self-knowledge is tyranny. To direct others without directing the self is to multiply chaos. The Stoic turns inward before acting outward. This introspection is not indulgence, it is calibration. They measure emotion, test motive, and remove distortion before decision. This process refines action into purpose. Freedom from illusion requires acceptance of ignorance. No one comprehends the full weave of cause and effect. The Stoic accepts this limit without despair. They work with fragments of clarity, trusting reason as the guide. To demand omniscience is to collapse under its impossibility. Serenity is born when the mind ceases to demand certainty. Control matures into posture. It is no longer effort, but identity. The disciplined person moves through conflict without visible strain. They command without raising voice, resist without tension, yield without weakness. Their calm unsettles the reactive because it exposes the futility of their chaos. The illusion of control thrives in comparison. To measure life by another's outcome is to surrender agency. The Stoic stands solitary in purpose. Others may walk beside them, but never ahead or behind in meaning. Comparison vanishes where individuality is governed by principle, not performance. To control perception, one must purify attention. Modern life fragments focus into 1,000 unimportant directions. Each distraction divides will. The Stoic practices minimalism of mind, directing thought only toward conduct and comprehension. They do not collect opinions. They collect clarity. Illusion hides in the subtle language of complaint. Every complaint is a negotiation with the uncontrollable. The disciplined person does not protest what cannot be changed. They adjust. Complaining amplifies powerlessness. Acceptance converts it into strength. To speak less of suffering is to suffer less. Control of reaction precedes control of action. Reaction is instinctual, fast, and often untrained. Action is deliberate, measured, chosen. The Stoic inserts awareness between event and response. That pause is freedom itself. Within that pause, illusion collapses and choice appears. To live without the illusion of control is not to live without ambition. The Stoic still aims high, but detaches from guarantee. Ambition becomes craft, not craving. The process replaces the outcome as the site of excellence. Thus, progress continues even without applause. Patience is the architecture of control. It structures emotion through discipline of waiting. Impatience seeks to control time. Patience synchronizes with it. In patience, control is redefined, not as domination of pace, but as alignment with order. The calm person achieves more precisely because they waste nothing on haste. The illusion of control produces arrogance. It convinces the mind that its will determines the world. The Stoic reverses this arrogance into reverence. They acknowledge the scale of existence and their place within it. Reverence is not submission, it is wisdom. To see oneself as part of a vast order removes both pride and despair. Mastery of detachment does not erase feeling, it purifies it. Joy becomes gratitude, not indulgence. Anger becomes insight, not vengeance. sorrow becomes reflection, not paralysis. Through discipline, emotion becomes refined material for wisdom. Each feeling is shaped, not suppressed. Control extends to consumption, what enters the mind and body. The Stoic filters input with precision. What you read, watch, and hear forms internal weather. Clarity cannot coexist with noise. To guard the gates of attention is to govern mental climate. When events betray expectation, most curse fate. The Stoic studies it. They ask, what principle is tested here? Each difficulty becomes instruction in detachment. What is denied externally becomes supplied internally. Strength grows in the soil of limitation. The illusion of control feeds guilt. People believe outcomes define morality, but in Stoicism, intent defines integrity. A good act with poor result remains good. A poor act with favorable result remains poor. Once this distinction is understood, guilt dissolves, replaced by responsibility without torment. The mind that accepts imperfection commands progress. The illusion of perfect control paralyzes effort. The Stoic acts with diligence, not obsession. Improvement is constant, completion is myth. This acceptance of incompletion frees the will to persist without fatigue. To abandon illusion is to restore proportion. Every event is placed within its correct scale. What seemed catastrophic becomes minor. What seemed urgent becomes irrelevant. The Stoic maintains a vast mental horizon. Perspective reduces suffering as distance reduces noise. Control is rooted in rhythm. Conduct repeated with discipline becomes identity. When virtue is habitual, effort disappears. The Stoic practices constancy until peace becomes reflex. Control matures into instinct when repetition purifies intention. The illusion of control corrupts leadership. Those who govern through fear seek control. Those who govern through example embody it. The Stoic leads by steadiness, not manipulation. Their influence flows from composure, not force. Authority built on fear collapses. Authority built on reason endures. To deepen detachment, study mortality. Death is the final proof that control is illusion. To contemplate mortality is not morbidity, it is liberation. Awareness of death dismantles vanity and trivial worry. It restores urgency to virtue and humility to action. In solitude, illusion becomes visible. Without distraction, the mind confronts itself. Many flee silence because it reveals dependency. The Stoic embraces it. Solitude is a forge where self-deception melts. In quiet, truth has room to speak. The disciplined person is not indifferent to life. They are devoted to it properly. They invest energy only where it yields virtue. Their care is not scattered, it is concentrated. Through this focus, each act acquires weight. The simplest gesture becomes significant when performed with intention. Control becomes art when practiced without effort. The Stoic reaches a point where calm is no longer applied. It is native. Discipline transforms into demeanor. This is not a mask, but a settled state. Serenity becomes the default, reaction the anomaly. The illusion of control collapses under gratitude. Gratitude acknowledges the limits of will and the gifts beyond it. It softens the ego's demand for control. Each moment received, not seized, becomes sacred. Gratitude turns surrender into power. To practice detachment amid success is rarer than amid failure. Failure humbles by force, success tempts by praise. The Stoic guards against both. They treat fortune and misfortune as equal tests of command. The challenge of success is to remain unseen by one's own vanity. When composure becomes unbroken, the world changes texture. Insults lose sharpness, praise loses sweetness. The noise of approval and rejection becomes wind across stone. The Stoic no longer resists reality, they absorb it. Nothing external penetrates the equilibrium of a mind aligned with truth. Freedom is not escape from structure, it is mastery within it. The Stoic thrives under law, not despite it. They use limits as framework for precision. Within boundaries, creativity expands. Control finds its highest form not in rebellion, but in alignment. The illusion of control dissolves when the mind sees that life is not personal. Events unfold through vast interdependencies. The Stoic detaches identity from event. They experience joy and suffering as part of the same continuum of being. Peace emerges from the acceptance that existence owes no explanation. Detachment is the highest expression of care. To let the world be as it is without distortion is the purest respect for it. The Stoic loves reality by refusing to lie about it. This love is silent, disciplined, and absolute. When illusion dies, peace begins. The world remains uncontrollable, but the self becomes unconquerable. Power is not loud. It is silent, measured, and indifferent to validation. The person who masters detachment commands reality through stillness. This is the Stoic's secret. Strength without noise. To be unmoved by judgment is to be untouchable. To walk through chaos with inner order is to rule without crown. The crowd lives for reaction. Every opinion they offer is bait for attention. The Stoic withdraws from this economy. They spend energy only where it yields virtue. Praise is not nourishment, it is distraction. Insult is not injury, it is sound. Both lose meaning when the mind stops measuring itself through them. Strategic indifference is not apathy, it is precision. It means knowing what matters and what does not, then acting accordingly. To ignore the irrelevant is not neglect, it is mastery of focus. The mind ruled by urgency is always weak. The mind ruled by order is unbreakable. Validation is a modern addiction. People scroll for approval as ancient men sought conquest. Each like, each compliment becomes a tiny drug for the ego, but every dependence weakens the will. The Stoic breaks this pattern by rooting identity in conduct, not commentary. Integrity replaces applause as proof. When you no longer crave recognition, your power multiplies. You act for principle, not performance. The world loses leverage because it cannot manipulate what it cannot tempt. This is freedom, to move without need for witness. The disciplined person does not vanish. They ascend beyond the reach of opinion. The indifferent mind is not cold, it is clear. It does not ignore feeling, it directs it. Emotion becomes fuel, not fire. The Stoic channels passion into precision, anger into action, pain into patience. They convert reaction into resource. Each challenge becomes material for composure. Control of attention is the new battlefield. Every notification, every voice, every opinion competes for the throne of thought. To rule the mind is to rule life. The Stoic governs attention like a scarce currency. They invest it only in what returns clarity and strength. Indifference is strategy. It disarms aggression, confuses manipulation, and protects focus. When provoked, silence is the sharpest reply. The world expects reaction. When none arrives, power shifts. The Stoic wins without conflict by refusing to participate in trivial war. The illusion of importance sustains the crowd. They mistake being seen for being significant. The Stoic knows the opposite. The more you need to be seen, the less you are. True influence radiates quietly. Power that depends on display is theater. Power that moves unseen is real. To practice strategic indifference, begin with observation. Watch how often you seek approval. Notice how attention shifts toward flattery or fear. Awareness reveals dependence. Once seen, it can be dismantled. The ego fades when it is no longer fed. In Stoicism, power is not possession, it is posture. The person who stands firm amid chaos commands those who panic. Calmness becomes control. When the crowd trembles, composure becomes leadership. Stillness has gravity. Every emotional reaction is a leak of energy. The Stoic seals those leaks through detachment. They do not react to rumor, insult, or praise. This does not make them less human. It makes them more deliberate. Emotion is no longer master, it is servant. Strategic indifference demands solitude. Time alone exposes what drives you. If your peace depends on presence of others, you are not at peace. You are distracted. Solitude clarifies ownership. It reveals whether the mind serves principle or appetite. To be indifferent to judgment is not arrogance, it is wisdom. The opinions of others are built on incomplete information. Why value conclusions drawn from fragments? The Stoic values truth over validation. They choose silence over spectacle. Reaction is currency in the world of noise. The less you react, the richer you become. Energy saved is energy stored. Indifference is conservation of power. The reactive burn it all in emotional display. The Stoic stores it in composure. Control of response is control of outcome. The person who remains calm under insult controls both perception and result. Their restraint disarms hostility. Indifference frustrates manipulation. It creates confusion in those who seek to dominate through emotion. Strategic indifference is tactical mercy. It spares the self from unnecessary suffering. Most pain is self-inflicted through attachment to opinion and outcome. The Stoic learns to suffer only for virtue, never for vanity. When you stop chasing validation, you see how small most concerns are. What once felt urgent becomes trivial. Perspective sharpens, noise fades. You begin to understand the rare clarity of detachment, the quiet sense that you have nothing to prove and nothing to defend. Indifference gives birth to authority. People follow those who do not seek to be followed. Composure is persuasive. The Stoic does not impose, they embody. Others recognize stability and align with it naturally. Leadership arises not from demand, but from gravity. To rule oneself is the first and final victory. Strategic indifference is the method. Each ignored insult, each dismissed distraction is a conquest. The battlefield is internal, but the victory is universal. The modern mind fears irrelevance. The Stoic welcomes it. To be unseen is to be free. Privacy becomes power when the ego no longer requires audience. In solitude, the disciplined person grows while the world seeks applause. Indifference is a weapon against manipulation. Those who cannot be provoked cannot be controlled. Those who cannot be flattered cannot be used. The Stoic's calm is not passive, it is calculated. Every silence is a decision, not absence. Strategic detachment transforms chaos into clarity. Each emotional storm that fails to move you strengthens your foundation. What once disturbed now passes through you like wind through open hands. You stop resisting weather. You begin mastering atmosphere. When emotion governs judgment, reason disappears. The Stoic inverts this hierarchy. They train emotion to follow command. This is done not through denial but through discipline, recognizing that feeling is not instruction, only signal. To master indifference is to stop arguing with the inevitable. The world will always speak. Let it. The Stoic invests in conduct, not commentary. Every word that seeks to distract meets silence. Silence is not weakness, it is command. Discipline of attention becomes serenity of existence. The fewer things you react to, the more things you control. Most of life is noise disguised as urgency. The Stoic distinguishes signal from noise through stillness. In an age that worships visibility, Invisibility becomes the mark of wisdom. To withdraw from constant display is not retreat, it is refinement. The Stoic builds inner architecture while others decorate facade. Strategic indifference also shields compassion. When emotion is ruled by reason, kindness becomes purer. It is no longer conditional or reactive. The Stoic helps not to be admired, but to fulfill duty. Virtue replaces validation as motive. The reactive live like leaves in wind, directionless and exhausted. The Stoic anchors beneath the surface, unseen but immovable. Indifference is their anchor. From it, they act with deliberate calm. To remain unmoved by opinion is not to reject humanity. It is to perfect it. The Stoic feels deeply but responds wisely. Their calm is not emptiness. It is strength, focused into silence. Strategic indifference evolves into freedom of posture. The mind no longer bends under external force. The heart no longer negotiates its peace. The body moves with precision, guided by principle, untouched by panic. When you stop performing for approval, you begin living from conviction. The audience disappears, and authenticity takes its place. The Stoic no longer acts to be seen, they act to be aligned. Detachment transforms perception. The same insult becomes lesson. The same failure becomes data. The same chaos becomes practice. Through indifference, experience loses the power to define identity. To live indifferently is to live lightly. The burdens of reputation, expectation, and reaction fall away. What remains is directness, pure action, unclouded by fear or vanity. Indifference refines dignity. The person who remains calm amid provocation demonstrates mastery of ego. They do not need to appear powerful, they are. The proof is composure. The Stoic's indifference is active stillness, a conscious refusal to waste life on noise. It is the art of walking through the world untouched, yet deeply engaged. Every silence is chosen. Every reaction withheld is strength preserved. True power is invisible. It neither seeks audience nor demands acknowledgement. It exists in those who no longer depend on recognition to know their worth. Strategic indifference is not retreat, it is rule.